Streaming coming through in a second. Okay, cool. We are now live on Twitch. I'm gonna shoot this to you guys in a text. Let's make sure I don't dox everyone my address book when I pull up the chats. Okay, there you go. And I'll post to Insta, give people the link. Alright, I think we're all set up.
Waiting for him to vanish?
Oh, it sounds like they're finishing up.
Okay, I'm plugging into my headphones.
Oops.
Just hold on to this computer. Just hold on to this computer. Just speak.
Yeah.
That is actually so much. Well, for starters, in robotics, it's robotics is actually in the early experiments with robotics, they tried to have a central controller just direct everything and say, okay, you're not going to and they couldn't get it to work. What they eventually did was they literally started creating individual body parts.
Oh, what a parallax view. I'm looking at us on Twitch.
Just be careful.
I got out of it. I just wanted to get the desktop link. So I
you
could
stream
tweet it
twice
out.
as much as you need to, yeah.
Doing things like building these crawlers that could pick up garbage and find the garbage can and put it in. And so robotics turned out to be this giant collection of these machines that can't understand them apart very well, and you just have to cobble them together piece by piece and merge it up.
Alright, link is up.
This is the fundamental limitation of artificial intelligence. An algorithm is just not an algorithm.
Yeah, we're good to go.
And it's working with, it's controlling very inert.
What the fuck was that?
Direct your brain to hear that. Your body already knows what to do. Your immune system has all kinds of activity. Your brain itself is all these different molecules that do all sorts of different things, and it's all this stuff working together. Through layers and layers.
Chat.
Because so adaptive. AI, because it's questionable whether maybe with AI you can make something like that, but at least I'm of the belief that you need to make a material change, and then it's no longer really AI. Then it's just like, I don't know, an enhanced artificial learning. So I think, the debate over AI.
What is this, CBIC?
At the time of his life, definitely AI. Not entirely, it's when you put power to this is great, I love a robot to cut those lenses. But like, you can still say there are lots of other things, like if you put robots in right ethics, it's not going to do so in a meaningful way.
So is that Mike down in the... Can't make out the...
Okay, so this is a great question. I wish I had in the other room I have the book, but I can remember, I think. What Spinoza does, he makes God an axiom, and that's why he gets the whole thing of the universe. The substance I was talking about,
Do we have like a lamp for Mike, maybe?
He defines God as is if you think of a being with a certain
Pepi.
power.
Poor Mike's in the dark corner.
That's cool. I have this setup where I can put my feet on the bed
Oh, nice.
where I'm sitting. I have a table in front of me with a bed.
That was the entirety of the universe. Anything small could be it. And so he defines God essentially as the absolute power of existence, and then he uses that to carve it up into all these other things. He then says God is actually the substance, then we have the attributes of the substance, and then from there he starts saying, so this is what we can learn about how the mind works.
So, Mike, are you Are you gonna get to a brighter area? I'm not. Is it Mike on the bottom screen?
Job is not.
Yeah. The Montez Press radio feed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
I'm sorry,
Sounds
there's
like
people in the radio station? What?
So next up, Josh Corella is going to do the Twitch stream game.
Sounds like this.
Roll for where he and some others in the room. So I think they're going to do it with that. With projection up here. Okay, so chill here or there.
Yeah, I'll do it over.
Yeah, that's Tom just mentioned. Next segment.
Excuse me.
Sean Carney, Kerry, Doran, and then Pepi to
Cool.
hop on his Twitch stream, and he has a Twitch in which he invites people to his memes.
Should I
So
plug this in?
today we have a meme review, and
Nice.
humor and adjective. Neoliberal? So you can
Still can't see his ass.
comment on
Oh, the blue, that's nice.
Yeah, blue is cool. It's like how you would show a hacker in like a documentary, like some anonymous silhouette.
And Pepi, with his build and his kind of accent, it's like straight blue lives matter. It works.
His build, his accent, his
The
political
Long
ideology.
while we set that up in the bathroom.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
How about on the Twitch stream?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You're a little low, Mike, but we can hear
Yeah,
you.
you could be a little more kind of up front.
Well, we can hear you, but can you hear Josh and Sean? Can you hear me on the stream?
Can you hear us, Michael?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, you can? Well, Mike can, but who can hear? You don't need to hear Josh and Sean are,
So we're good.
they can't hear us. But should they hear you?
I can hear you.
Harry, I just heard you on the loudspeaker.
But do you hear Josh and Sean?
Oh, good point. This is so many different things.
Are we being projected over there as well?
Ask them to say something today.
Josh or Sean say something.
Hello, Mike.
Hello, Mike. Hello, Kerry.
Can you hear that?
Oh,
Yeah, so maybe just take this off, right?
no. Yeah. I
Right.
have to keep it on.
Yeah, like just replace this out with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need to have headphones.
If you guys are watching in the Twitch stream, if you want to hop in the chat, you have to make an account.
One more thing, can you guys hear me now? Cool.
Still hear you.
So
Oh, I don't know.
You don't need to sign up for anything. You just make an account, and then you can type in the chat. Might be fun for some of the tiebreakers, too, during the game. Get votes from the people watching, etc., etc.
All right. Oh, that's cute, Josh. Your Twitch stream has a nice little photo of you when I tweeted the thumbnail that pops up.
Can you hear us?
Can I
Yeah,
hear
we
you?
can hear you.
Oh, nice. Okay, all right.
I can
We're
hear you.
good. We're good.
You have color.
You have a theme song or something?
Theme song. I wish. I haven't even figured out a name for the Twitch stream. Summer live stream series I've been going by. Oh, nice. Okay, we can finally see Mike. Beautiful. And we're live now.
Maybe.
Okay,
That looks
great.
good.
A little bit of
Okay.
always a little bit of a tech hurdle in the beginning. Mead Charles in the chat first. What's up? Thanks for tuning in. All right, everybody. We're here to play a game from Humor in the Abject, Sean's famous, beloved podcast. He introduced this segment called Neoliberal or Libertarian on an episode with Mike Pepi, who's our bottom panelist here in the chat. And we're going to do a little bit of like a meme review, and then we're going to go through a few prompts, and we'll have our panelists kind of vote whether the specific proposal is neoliberal or libertarian. And we'll go through our kind of process. If someone has a rebuttal, if there's a 3-to-1 vote, the dissenting vote can make their case. and potentially sway people to their side. If we have an unbreakable tie, we'll get votes from the chat and Twitch, votes from the people in the audience at Montez. What's that, Mike?
I'm saying the crowd can also weigh.
Mm-hmm.
You guys ready to play neoliberal libertarian?
All right, cool.
Cue the silly band.
So I think that the fun thing about this game is that, like, these are really fuzzy terms, right? People kind of throw around neoliberal, they throw around libertarian, and there's some a slippage between the two of them. And in this game, it's kind of fun because the prompts are just ridiculous and silly, but you also end up defining the terms in the process, and you have to kind of collectively work towards what that definition is. But I thought first, let's just go through a few of these, and that'll help, I think, like grease the wheels a little bit for the content we're going to talk about. So this is just a few things that I pulled off of various Reddits, various accounts. Claiming to win debates you lost, no knowledge of history, having no ideological consistency, learning from online quotes, being 13, libertarians. And I think this is kind of accurate, and a big part of the stuff that we're going to dive into is that, like, libertarianism, there is a political ideology, and then there's also this internet subculture phenomena of, like, flat earth applied to politics, of they just can't believe that there's any way to have, like, large systems the size of a state to collaborate or work effectively. So it becomes premised off this idea of consent, individual freedom, etc., expands out from there. But this is my definition that I always give to people because I think it's more well known now. But there's this kind of, I guess, like a rough assumption that, like, libertarians are like the nice Republicans, the Republicans that want to smoke pot, and the Republicans that support gay marriage. So I want gay married couples to protect their marijuana plants with guns they bought with bitcoins. There's also another version of this that's it says unregistered AR-15s, like a 3D printed receiver from, like, the Ghost Gunner dudes.
Can I point out, though, that the first one, in terms of libertarian, I think the usage of Captain Planet is a mistake, based almost entirely on the optics of Captain Planet, where the kind of neoliberal diversity optics game was so insane that they invented a fifth element besides air, water, wind, fire, heart. Just to kind of fit an extra diversity box check in there, which is extremely neoliberal behavior. So I just want to say that whoever the author of that meme is, the framework is faulty. This is an observation.
I don't know if I agree with that. Because maybe we're made up sort of from the scope of the game, but it's also kind of tricky to put these terms, like, in opposition to one another, because neoliberalism is like the economic system that libertarianism sort of comes out of, and this is like the difference between the terms anyway. It's the sense that neoliberalism is a system, whereas libertarianism is a political position.
Philosophy.
Yeah, I guess it's like neoliberalism, nobody, like, identifies as a neoliberal, or, like, it doesn't really have.
That's not true.
Yeah, I do.
You think so?
Yes.
People are like, oh yeah, me, I'm a neoliberal.
I think in, like, a reactionary anti-leftist sense, for like a hardcore centrist Dem kind of person, like, in a reactionary sense, they have become proud neoliberals.
I guess in terms of, like, political terminology for them, though, I would more call them a centrist, whereas like a libertarian is specific, needs a philosophy to take a political stance. I guess what I'm trying to say is neoliberalism is more of the system, and so what I'm getting at with the meme is that it sort of does make sense to have this, like, totalizing thing that result in libertarianism.
Kerry, your sound is a little muted for us.
Okay. I get closer to the mic.
That does help.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had a comment in the chat. Yeah, I think let's push through these, and we're gonna kind of define it as we go, I think. But I mean, people like neoliberalism is like it just is what we are in now, like in the neoliberal period. So it's like part of the reason why it's such a confused terminology, and like people don't. It's like, how do you identify with like I am the status quo, or you know, it's yeah, because we'll talk about the theory, we'll talk about the practice a bit, but this is a little bit of a libertarian section that I want to kind of push us through first. But this is the kind of like the spectrum of it, of like maybe like the Gary Johnson guys, and then into the ANCAPism.
Wait, can we talk? Wait, this is Snake Plissken, right? From Escape from New York?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Well, how about, so, has everyone seen Escape from New York?
No.
Oh, it's great. Sean definitely has.
When I was a child.
Yeah, same for me.
I haven't seen
Well,
it.
I watched it late. I watched it for the first time like 5 years ago, and it's pretty interesting. Maybe we can talk about whether that's neoliberal. They basically turn Manhattan into a giant prison, and they send Snake Plissken in to rescue the president whose air glider crashed real quick. So I feel like that's a good interesting.
Right. Years ago. Yeah, it's like a cyberpunk dystopia type thing.
Yeah, and in that movie, I think actually Snake Plissken is like the libertarian, and the sort of like state that created this massive Manhattan prison is neoliberal, but whatever.
A lot. The Krugman ones really get me. You're on your deathbed. Any last words? I will draw dollars with fucking crayons if I have to. There's we're gonna get to a few later about
Yeah, this is like
gold, Austrian economics.
This is basically anti-Fed stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to establish.
Big time. Yeah. Like Ron Paul, audit the Fed type guys.
Yeah, that's one of the major parts of libertarianism, I would say. By the way, I've been listening to Cato Institute podcasts all day, so I'm like yellow pilled to gills right now. I've got all the talking points. So.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That'll be good to kind of run it past their proofing mechanism. So I tried to gather some like examples of like libertarian memes. Easy to find. There's much fewer on the internet than there was a few years ago, but it's really difficult to find like pro neoliberal memes. Like unironically, something that isn't critical of it.
Okay.
This was about as close as I could get. A good one going around like maybe a month ago. And then I picked out a few that I think will kind of like ease us into the rest of the game. And I'd like to put it to the panel. Is this meme libertarian or neoliberal? Like, what group do you think it came from? And then I'll reveal the answer at the end. Who would win? An army of passionate liberals demanding rent control, developer fees, zoning restrictions, moratoriums on development, and de facto development taxes, or basic economics?
Okay.
What group do you think this came from? What do you think the ideology is of the person who made this meme? What are they shilling?
Is it? Can I take a guess?
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I'm basing this entirely on, I feel like I was driving back from Houston and they were talking about rent control on the radio, probably on NPR or something, and they were saying that they had economists on who were arguing that the rent control by default is bad for cities and bad for renters and bad for people and displaces more people. So I feel like the punchline being basic economics leads me to believe that an economist is behind this, or someone who is a fan of an economist, which I think is a libertarian, is my guess. But I'm very interested in Kerry and Mike's takes on this too.
Yeah, this one's right in the middle, I would say. This is a good choice because it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, the sort of like supply and demand curve in basic economics is kind of a curveball because libertarians do generally kind of argue for the laws of the free market to kind of sort everything out, and what's on the left over there is clearly a bunch of central planning types of things. So it probably is leaning more towards libertarian, because you might actually get some neoliberals kind of arguing for a few of those things. They would probably implement them in a different way. So I'm going to go with libertarian.
And Kerry?
I don't feel like it belongs to either, because, like, I was saying, sorry, my sound wasn't good. I was saying, I don't really know how to place it, because basic economics is like, according to you, what are basic economics in the first place? And like, the economic premise of neoliberalism is like not basic. So that's really difficult for me. And also everything that's on the like San Francisco side of the panel seems at odds with neoliberalism and libertarianism, because most of those things seem like
Yeah, that well,
it just doesn't make sense to me at all. I'm sorry.
Well,
Part of
I'm
the
gonna.
confusion is the usage of the term by the other party for the other party. Like people who are marching around, people who are marching around demanding like rent control. I don't call those people aren't liberals to me. Like liberals don't like rent control.
Right.
You know,
Right,
like I don't
right.
think that but if I were further right on the spectrum, I would call those people liberals.
Yeah.
Both as a disparaging thing and a general catch-all. So it's confusing
Yeah.
to me.
Well, this is part of the onion that we're trying to unravel, because I would probably agree with you guys that this leans more towards the liber. I think this leans more towards the libertarian side of it, but it's from our neoliberal. It's from neoliberal on Reddit.
Like fans of neoliberalism go on there.
Yeah. Unironic fans. Yeah.
you did find a neoliberal channel.
It's not real, is it? I don't know. Are you being serious?
I guess the basic
Oh, yeah.
overall is a giveaway, because it's like they're saying these are basic economics to us. No? Okay.
No, it's a supply and demand curve, which is sort of very essentially like the main armament of the idea of the free market. So
Well, no, I understand that, but I mean, like, never mind. I'm saying that. Well,
let's move on.
Yeah, we can move on.
I mean, I would say that it's not like a curve of houses and people who need housing. It's a curve of like dollars in search of investment. So it's like we do have an imbalance of like in a city like New York, where there's more homeless people, there's more empty homes than there are homeless people. Like those curves don't add up, because they're not actually measuring like people who need houses. Like that is the gap. But I think this is part of like the slippery. I'm going to push us forward, but this is part of the slippery slope where it's like you're applying free market ideas to neoliberalism, and it's this kind of withering of the state and privatization. Okay, this is a similar one.
Stupid.
thank you, Sean.
I mean, I think this was as close as I could get to like a just full-throated defense of neoliberalism. Like this is what they would like unironically support, that this is like part of the process, that it is okay to cut the social safety net, because this process of tax incentives and tax breaks to create increased prosperity will lift everyone out of poverty. So these processes they work in conjunction with each other. But I mean, you could see this in a libertarian Reddit as well. Could float between both.
Yeah. So my thing here, the thing that complicates this is that having listened to Cato's 2 podcasts all morning, they're very anti-poverty, right? They sort of have a moral compass, which maybe neoliberals don't. They're anti-poverty, but they just deeply disagree of how to lift people out of poverty. So there's definitely a libertarian angle to this one. And they're obviously clearly anti-welfare. So
Don't need to fund welfare if you bring everyone out of poverty.
Just a quick, like, technical introduction, Mike, if we could, like, describe the needs for our listeners who aren't on the stream. Yeah.
It's the guy pointing to his head meme, and he says, "Don't need to fund welfare if you bring everyone out of poverty." I really love this meme. This format actually is one of my. It's my go-to format.
It's good reaction.
I think the problem with all of these is just like inherent logic flaws, because like with this one, if you're not funding welfare, then there would be something else to fund, and also like poverty, it's always a moving target as well. So everything's just kind of like, so far none of these make sense to me.
Yeah, let's keep moving, and I think once we got another 2 of these, and then the rest of it is kind of all text based, so we won't have to worry too much about our viewers who are on the radio right now. So this, just do a visual description, because this has been going around for a little bit. It's more recent. It didn't seem to really sync up with Game of Thrones, but it's been circulating after. So it's the what is this guy? The Treasury dude, and it proposes one kind of like ridiculous expenditure, and the guy says, "Think I'll take 2," and then it proposes a much smaller expenditure, and he responds, "Can the Treasury bear such expense?" And this is. You can't see the bottom?
Well, yeah, we just see can the Treasury. What is the bottom?
That is the bottom. Oh, can the Treasury bear such expense?
Yeah, we can't see bear such expense. Okay.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Yeah, so Rand Paul was very vocal about not allotting additional funding for first responders on 9/11. So the first panel reads, a tax cut that adds nearly $2 trillion of the debt over 10 years. And he responds, think I'll take 2. Second panel says, an additional $10 billion for first responders on 9/11. Can the Treasury bear such expense? And Rand Paul is kind of, I think, famously libertarian, at least rhetorically.
So yeah, the thing here is that libertarians are deficit hawks, right? Like they're basically the only people in the Republican Party who rail against the deficit and actually follow through on it. Like I think that a lot of Republicans have this small government Reagan idea, but it's all just complete show, and they end up just voting for anything that delivers like pork barrel spending to their home district. So. But then on the other hand, the irreconcilable thing with them is that they are obviously for low taxes. So it's sort of like, where does the money come from?
Well, it's the feedback loop, right? Like you cut taxes, cut spending, cut taxes. Yeah.
So I'm saying this is libertarian. That's my vote.
I mean, it's gotta be libertarian because 9/11 was an inside job, so.
Kerry, right.
Yeah. Okay, and this next one is just it's really quick. Hey, Ben Bernanke from the Federal Reserve, can I ask you a question? Sure, Ron Ball from the United States Senate. Do you think gold is money? No, bottom text. And I think this is the last one I chose because I think this is maybe the best lead-in of the kind of the libertarian guys that come out of like Austrian economics and this like return to real value, like hard gold-backed value rather than fiat currency. That neoliberals, although they are in support of austerity measures, cutting spending, et cetera, they still do support a fiat currency to do quantitative easing or alleviate some kind of economic disaster. That it's this I guess it orbits around this question of the Fed that the libertarians would want to abolish, and the neoliberals, although they are deficit hawks, as Mike explained earlier, they would still want to retain it. You disagree?
Yeah, no. This one is perhaps the only like delineated difference between them, right? I think, as you just said, neoliberals want a sort of they want the U.S. to be the reserve currency of the world, and they want the Fed to just essentially make up money, whereas the libertarians are weirdly obsessed with the gold standard.
Well, I think neoliberals are also more, like Josh was saying, like the Fed is more important than the currency itself, because the freer something can move and flow, like to not have it be actually tied to anything physical is very important. So I think that's like another aspect of the whole conversation around fiat currency.
I just like any of those memes where the eyes are red at the end. So
I'm a sucker for them myself. So why don't we start the game? I think it's like enough of an intro. And so I'm just reading here from kind of the script that Sean laid out in the first episode with Mike on humor in the object. And then we've been kind of like spitballing on a Google Doc, and I pulled some of the best examples. I've just been elected mayor of a major city. I'll explain one of my new public policy proposals to you, and you'll tell me if it's neoliberal or libertarian and why. So I'm going to read the question, and then we'll each have an opportunity to vote one way or the other. If someone has a dissenting vote, if we get a 3-1, then the one remaining vote will be able to make their case, sway people to the other side. If we have an unbreakable tie, we'll get votes from the chat. We'll get votes from the live audience.
crowd.
Okay, so this labyrinthian Rube Goldberg of a meme.
This is the original one.
Hats
This
off
is
to
the
Sean.
one that put it all.
Yeah, this is quite good. I want to offer my citizens more choices when it comes to having their trash removed. So I dismantled the Public Sanitation Services Department and opened the market up for bidding from private sanitation companies, who I think will provide more efficient trash removal with more features for customers, possibly based on a tiered system where they can opt into additional monthly or weekly services like recycling or composting at a small additional cost. Also, I want to add that through the program, we'll be adding in tax incentives to the companies to help us blow up the public perception of the garbage man, and with a goal of having at least 50% of our workforce garbage women by 2023. Neoliberal or libertarian? Sean, let's go to you first.
First of all, can we just pause there for a moment to just bask in the fact that Sean wrote this amazing thing and this was based on an actual night. Remember, this was like a night where you came up to me and you basically gave me something like this, and then you went back and perfected it into this masterpiece that we have. So thank you, Sean. Thank you.
For as like beautiful and elaborate as a text that it is, I think it's probably like the most straightforward answer of some of the questions we came up with. So Sean, why don't you?
I mean, this one was, to me, this is how I began to understand what neoliberalism was. This is cut and copy a neoliberal kind of policy, both through the solutions of the free market to kind of try to do this price competition, offer people all these kind of bullshit replacements based on a free market instead of just like using a public system, like dismantling a public system that already exists and is probably effective. And then this kind of layer over the top of it of like more garbage women like kind of thing. So yeah, that's one's neoliberal. I mean, I don't know, if somebody disagrees, I could be, maybe I drank too much Kool-Aid, I don't know.
Yeah, no disagreement for me. This is neo-lib.
That's pretty clear, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think we all agree for this one.
Yeah, you could say. Okay,
Fucking contrarian Mike Pepi. Okay. Number 2. We're going to significantly relax gun control laws, but there will be a lot of more street art murals in public parks. We're going to significantly relax gun control laws, but there will be a lot more street art murals in public parks.
Kerry, why don't you take this one as the street art expert?
So now I'm the street art expert.
Neoliberal or libertarian? Who wants to go first?
I'm kind of offended that you just called me a street art expert.
He's just trolling you. Kerry, what do you think though?
Well, libertarians love guns, so I don't know, it's gotta be that. In public parks, that's where the problem comes in though, because public parks are government funded. But I think I'm gonna lean libertarian on this one.
Okay. And
Yeah, it's really, you can't ignore the sort of weight of street art carries here. I kind of think that like the typical, like most libertarians are like 15-year-old white guys, right? So like, what's the other thing that 15-year-old white guys love? street art. So I don't know. I kind of think that it's pretty libertarian in the street art side. But then again, I'm also thinking of all those like condos in Williamsburg that like bring in a street art guy to like do it, make it seem like that's pretty fucking neoliberal. So I don't know. It's kind of, this one's hard.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with libertarian, just because of the gun control law.
I think so too, because I think that trumps the rest of the stuff based on sort of just like that one being the real kicker, like the relaxed gun control laws. And also, even though it is public parks, I do feel like aesthetically, street art, even if it's not meant to in its sort of revolutionary, kernel of where it began, but I think aesthetically that street art as a concept is very reflected in sort of the styles and the dress codes of people that are libertarian.
Yeah, I mean, it's the public parks for me that makes it conflicted, right? Because like gun control is like major hot button thing for libertarians, but public parks does connote some kind of public funding allotted to these spaces, even if it's very little. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna lean libertarian on it as well. I think, with some.
Maybe a way to reduce the number of public parks just based on, like, by virtue of the relaxed gun laws.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe wipe them out.
Wait, I just want to add one
Sean,
more
speak up a
thing.
little bit. Sean, be a little bit louder.
I just said that if you let everybody carry guns around, you probably won't have public parks for much longer. So it could be like a long game.
That's true. That's true. That makes me lean libertarian even more too.
Also, the way that the sentence is constructed is
Yeah.
the public parks.
But there will be.
Yeah, the
Public parks are not contingent on the gun control. It's putting the street art in the parks that already exist. So.
Yeah. Okay. I think we all agree that it's not an actual, but it's like they're just relaxing gun. Okay, it's libertarian.
Libertarian it is.
Yeah.
Anyone from the crowd disagree? No? Libertarian. Okay.
Okay.
Crowd.
A workout incentivization program that uses citizens' body mass index to determine their neighborhood parking permit tags. If you're in better shape, you get to park in front of your house or in your own driveway. If you're overweight, though, your overnight spot might be as far as a mile from your neighborhood. So it has incentives built into it.
It's called LA.
LA. It does seem like I would have to guess that like this program is like created by some kind of private company, right? I don't think like the state is devoting funds for like software programmers to create this app.
So it's just like flat out. I mean, before we get into the politics of it, just extremely fucked up and cruel.
To be fair, both sides of this question are fucked up and cruel, so that's not really.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
the worst evil, right? Sean-
This is definitely neoliberal. That's all I'm going to say.
Neoliberal.
Yeah, it's very neoliberal.
And it's also like something Gavin Newsom would say, which is a point I made on Sean's original podcast. But I mean, Gavin Newsom and most citizens of San Francisco would vote this in as a city ordinance, no question.
Are we all in agreement then? Neoliberal? Yeah.
We have a question. Dean, you want the mic? It'll almost stretch there. We have a question from Dean.
Oh yeah.
Question is this what Whole Foods does for employees to get bigger discount and how helpful they are?
Yes.
Better shape.
We just got a comment about that in the chat. Zedekiss also says Whole Foods prorates their health insurance based on weight, right?
Come on.
So if you work for Whole Foods, you get a discount for fitness. That's like that is some dark libertarian shit.
No, but
Well, because it's a company doing it, not the state.
Quick question is for Mike. I was wondering what you think of this policy as someone who
is overweight.
very pro-exercise.
I thought you were going to call me overweight. I was like,
No, you're in great shape.
thank you. Wait, hold on. Let's go back to that. So Whole Foods is owned by Amazon, and that's an extremely Amazon will soon be essentially administering our health insurance. We probably have like 10 years before that happens. So for me, that's pretty neoliberal.
Well, also the point that Dean brings up is really good because even before like the Whole Foods thing, which I actually wasn't aware of, there's a lot of even like private health insurance companies that give you a discount based on like if you have a gym membership and how often you go.
Yeah.
So I don't know the specifics of that, but the idea is to like incentivize somebody to be working out, but it doesn't really take into account like if somebody has a chronic illness or if somebody might not be able to work out for any number of reasons.
This was, correct me if I'm wrong, but was this the kind of the kernel of the West Virginia teacher strike when there was some kind of like mandatory Fitbit and they had to complete like half an hour of cardio exercise a day to qualify for their health insurance?
I hadn't heard that, but that makes sense.
I recall, I don't know if it's specifically that, but I certainly recall workplace people flipping out as a result of those kind of things being implemented. I mean, there are charges for tobacco users under things. There are all these, I mean, all of this stuff is set up like that in order to do that. But now that you can kind of track people, put something on somebody and actually monitor how much physical activity they're doing, that's sort of where this thing came from. And yeah, I think the Amazon thing too, Mike, I want to add that I am quite convinced that prisons will be the Amazon fulfillment centers within 10 years as well as our health insurance being there. But when you go to prison, you'll just be filling boxes for Amazon. I think that's definitely 10 years or less.
Yeah, I was gonna say less, probably.
I mean, you can get, they do the soap at Whole Foods, right, which Amazon owns already, so.
No, but they'd rather spend their time and money training AI to do that. It could probably be harder to pass the laws to allow that to happen than it would just be like let all of the last mile AI fulfillment get to the point where it can be done. So, but I mean that's something that Bezos would obviously try if he could. Another question from Dean.
You train the AI to put people in prison. Like, that's easy.
Yeah,
That's what it. Yeah, that's what it is.
Wow, it's getting dark over here.
Okay, all right. Let's keep going. We got plenty more of these. Next question: the age of consent is lowered to 16, but everyone is required to do 2 years of mandatory military service with a local militia of their choice.
I mean, that's libertarian. Like militia of your choice.
Right.
Yeah. I mean.
The most libertarian thing.
Okay, so we got 2 for libertarian. Mike,
Oh wow, this is I don't know. Is this being recorded?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say I don't know. Yeah. I'll say libertarian.
Okay. I think I would agree, but there is a follow-up to this one. Veterans receive fully socialized health care through the VA. Does that change your answer?
Well, how is the VA encompasses all militias, even if they're opposing?
Yes.
So like,
Yeah. Wow, this is a curveball.
so it's like the whatever those like the Bundy Ranch people in Oregon or whatever, and Pete Buttigieg both have
They both
full
get it.
coverage.
Yep.
Shit.
You could join an insurgent militia of your choice,
Okay.
try and destroy the state, and then 2 years later, they give you fully socialized health care. And everybody gets it. This is a universal healthcare system.
That's the idea of Antifa, I think, right? So.
This is to say, like, if the state even exists after the local militias are successful.
Good point. Also, like you could just start a militia.
I couldn't even finish that sentence.
Veterans receive fully socialized healthcare through the VA. I mean, are they? I mean, is that just? But aren't they supposed to now? I mean, couldn't that just be like, they get it, quote in scare quotes?
Right, yeah.
Couldn't they just do it that way, like they do presently?
Well, the issue with this is that there is a healthcare system that's provided by the state, right? So I think these two things are a conflict of being able to decide to be in your local militia, you have the freedom to choose, but then you have this socialized healthcare that's offered through government. And then also like going back to the age of consent, like I don't know what that.
No, let's not go back to that.
Skipping over that.
Let's focus on the militia. Wait, has anyone talked about how there's the second line is the most anti-libertarian thing I can think of? We're focusing on the militia. It's the state.
Yeah.
It's the state requiring you to do something. It doesn't matter if it's something that libertarians like to do on the weekend. The fact that it's being required makes this neoliberal.
It's
This is
conscripted
sort of like
military
neoliberals
service.
wanting
Yeah.
to appeal to libertarians in a way, just like they sort of do with like other kind of like pet impulse causes. They actually still run the status quo, but they like give you a little crumb to nibble on.
It does violate the non-aggression principle to force someone into military service.
Right.
Huh.
Wow.
Huh.
Should we cast
Wow.
our votes?
Yeah, I think that's.
So we were all libertarian before,
I'm going
but
neoliberal.
yeah, I would as well.
Please go to the next one. This is awkward. Okay.
All right, this is a good one. The Federal Reserve is replaced by Ethereum. Individual donations to campaigns are now prohibited. Only direct descendants of the Clintons may run for office. Neoliberal or libertarian?
All right, I'm just gonna say right now, I'm not explaining blockchain. Okay.
This might be off the spectrum somewhere. Because the Federal Reserve being replaced by Ethereum would be libertarian, right? Because it would not allow you to do quantitative easing or print more money or adjust interest rates, whatever. Individual donations to campaigns are now prohibited. I'm not really sure where that falls.
I mean, that
But the
kind of
third one is
status quo
monarchy,
now.
like the
all of our individual contributions like don't mean shit, right? Like you can only give $2,000, and as we saw in 2016, the person who like totally fucking blew out the numbers still ended up losing to a direct descendant of the Clintons. So this is kind of like what we have now.
I want to back I think that the Federal Reserve being replaced by Ethereum is neoliberal because you're just switching out a pre-existing structure with one that's privatized,
That's a
and
good point.
it's even more like immaterial, if you will, than the structure that exists. So it enables even more trade.
But
That's a great point.
No,
That's a
it
great point, Kerry.
it is more
So-
material
so it's like
though.
a false flag to kind of get
Is-
people.
But isn't it more material in that there's an energy consumption to produce the token or whatever? Like it is effectively a gold standard based on how much electricity it draws to mine the individual Ethereum or whatever?
I agree with you, but that's not how the currency itself is being valued.
Does the fact that it just relates to tech make it kind of neoliberal?
That's true.
Like that you could tell them and be like, it'll be like money, but it's ones and zeros, and you can look at it on an app, and they would be like, fuck yeah, we should do that.
Yeah, they'd be like, why aren't we already doing that? And it's essentially like, I don't know, it just, to me, is like a very good example of how neoliberalism already operates because the business itself is doing better than the structure that the government already has. The structure that the government has, and so people are like, oh, well, the privatized solution is better, the government is failing.
I buy that, yeah.
When we talk about strategy here, so in order for libertarians to buy this one, they would have to go like yellow pill Chelsea Sun or something, because that would be the only way they could get power back. Right? I mean, Bill probably has illegitimate children somewhere, but
Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants a really deep cut, look at Democracy, the God That Failed, which is a libertarian argument for monarchy. That's the really dark shit. Let's push forward on this one. A nationalized social media platform operated by the USPS opens prediction markets to determine who is or is not eligible for free healthcare. Neoliberal or libertarian? Let's start from Mike and work our way up.
oh great.
You're on the spot.
So this one is like, I'm confused to be honest. free healthcare. They would kind of both not be into free healthcare, right? So, and they're obviously against nationalizing stuff. Am I just confused? This sounds like just some sort of like a left position, right? Am I missing something? But someone else.
Do prediction markets to cut people's healthcare? That's super left, yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right.
I'm stuck on free in quotes.
Yeah,
I'm curious about that. Also, the USPS, correct me, I can never understand this or remember correctly, but the USPS is not a government organization, but it's a nationalized company. Like, the USPS isn't, like, Congress, right?
No. They're a federal. They're a federal. But they're not a private company. They're a federal service.
But they just did collaboration with 421, so I feel like I feel like they must be. Like,
I think no, but isn't there some? I mean, I don't.
Who among us hasn't?
But I feel like there's some. I feel like there's some USPS like ahaha like talking point that people do all the time. It's like, did you know actually that they were a company that was nationalized. They're not. They didn't grow out of the government. They're not a government organization.
Did not know that.
They're a company that became like the mail was a company, a service, and then was absorbed or something. There's some weird thing
like
like that.
1790.
Right. I'm not saying that down. But I just mean, if we're, this thing's so fucking confusing, I'm trying to figure out where all of the little rubs are.
That's like the antithesis of neoliberalism. It's like, because typically it would go, at least now, it would go the opposite direction. Now, it would be like something would be a private company. What you're describing what happened with the USPS in 1799 is like the opposite of that.
All right, I'm going with neoliberal on this one.
I'm going to too.
Yeah, I think we all agree. Yeah. All right, so let's do. They're gonna get increasingly twisted here. Okay, question number 9. A flat rate subscription fee is now required to access voting privileges, but the money is used to fund mandatory paternity leave. Flat rate subscription fee for voting is super libertarian, right? There's no incentives for different people. Mandatory paternity leave.
They're very adamant about like the right of self-determination, so they would need a vote, right?
No. The market replaces the democratic system because the market is in itself, in the libertarian rhetoric, comprised of democratic inputs.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That's a good point.
It's now required to access voting privileges. The money's used to fund mandatory paternity.
Mandatory.
I mean, that requires people to take leave when they have a child. That sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be like Sweden. You have to
very-
take 16 weeks or something.
I mean, that's clearly not on both there shouldn't be paternity leave, I think, in a libertarian mindset, and you can't make people take it extra in a libertarian mindset, right? Like, the state shouldn't be shouldn't
Right.
be giving you money so you can go have a baby willy-nilly, right?
I think that checks out.
But a
Yeah,
flat
I
subscription
agree.
fee. Oh, what, Kerry?
I was just saying I agree with you because it's like the mandatory paternity leave, you should be able to do whatever you want with your health and your body with libertarianism. But I think Josh was just going to say the same thing that I was going to say with flat rate subscription fee. It's like the kicker.
What if you had a UBI? Then the subscription fee would be fine. You could kind of consider it built in.
Yeah, it's like the whole 360 to not call it a tax. Like, we give you a UBI and then you have to pay for this shit.
Everyone gets a UBI that guarantees to cover their subscription fee for voting, but they have to opt in.
Oh,
They
yeah.
have to decide how to spend it, so you can be rude and not spend it, I guess. So you opt out by not opting in,
Are we all neoliberal?
which is neoliberal.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Okay.
I was gonna go I don't know. I think it's right in the middle.
Josh is saying libertarian.
I don't know if I have a strong argument for it. It's the flat rate, the subscription fee. That's what. Yeah.
But don't they? Yeah, no, they would love it because that's just back to like property owners can vote.
Right, exactly, yeah.
That's very libertarian.
Mm-hmm.
They love that shit, right?
I think we'd need more info, because if the subscription fee is like $1 a year, that's one thing. If the subscription fee is like $25,000 a year, that's a totally different story.
Do they
It's
believe that
trying
you
to
should pay to
monetize
get?
something that's like been decided upon as like a basic human right in this country. So that's, for me, that's like the neoliberal aspect of it, is trying to monetize something that's like,
Mm.
I mean, like we're all supposed to get to vote now.
Yeah.
We all know that's not true, but
I think
Yeah,
I'll,
like
I'll defer to you guys. I don't know if I have a strong argument for it. Should we move forward? Question 10.
Yeah, I just want. I think you should have to ride a bird scooter to vote. You should have that. You should have an account, and you have to ride that out to do it.
Question 10. To create the necessary market incentives for hover cars, the state no longer fills any potholes on public roads.
That's a really good idea.
This one's libertarian.
That's accelerationist.
I might go libertarian on it.
This one's a good one though, but I'm just gonna jump out and say libertarian.
Necessary market incentives for hover cars.
Libertarians don't.
Yeah,
think
I mean, right? They hate public roads. They hate things like that. This would force a market to appear, right? To solve a problem that the state couldn't solve on its own. This feels very libertarian. That's my vote.
I'm gonna play like devil's advocate, I guess.
Okay.
Because they're trying to create the necessary markets,
Uh-huh.
and the hover cars don't even, like, potholes don't affect hover cars.
I think it might be some like rhetorical trickery though, because like the market incentives, it's really non-specific. They're just cutting funding to all the public roads. You know what I mean? So I think it might be couched in neoliberal language, but I think it's a libertarian policy.
Yeah, again, the end game here is that there are no roads because everyone has hover cars. So how is that not libertarian? Right? A neoliberal would be very foolish to put this forward. Does anyone think this is neoliberal? Anyone from the crowd?
But the state infrastructure is like failing. I don't know. I think it's neoliberal still.
I understand what Kerry's. You're swaying me a little bit into the mind of like that they would. This is an existing thing, and they're like, hey, we have this thing that kind of works, but what if we let a company take a crack at it? I guess it would depend on how they framed it. But now I'm torn.
Does the Twitch stream have a say?
Okay, I'm gonna push us through to get to one at the end here that really kind of like cuts to the heart of this thing. Okay, number 17, because we're running low on time. I knew we would have like more content than we were able to get to. Okay, so this is a quote from Milton Friedman in 1999. I think the internet is going to be one of the major forces for reducing the role of government. The one thing that's missing, but that will soon be developed, is a reliable e-cash, a method whereby on the internet you can transfer funds from A to B without knowing B or B knowing A. Milton Friedman in 1999. So Milton Friedman, famous monetarist, is generally cited by libertarians, but he's kind of understood as one of like the godfathers of neoliberalism. The Chicago Boys advising Pinochet, a number of kind of like it's in that genesis of the early 70s that we would kind of describe as like the dawn of neoliberalism. Crisis of profitability, the need for market deregulation. But if you had to look at this quote out of context, how would you describe it? Neoliberal or libertarian?
Yeah, I think as you said, it's tough because Friedman is kind of like the sort of one godhead in which both these things kind of developed from. I mean, you could argue that libertarianism has roots that go farther back, but this is really similar to blockchain, right? Or just the idea of cryptocurrency. So
Exactly.
for me, that makes it pretty libertarian.
I would agree with that.
I think in a vacuum that it's libertarian, but it's hard for me to look at it without shaking the context of how like gleefully neoliberals have allowed all of these companies to just sort of like invent their own the way that money works, like just to like to change, like to take over existing infrastructures of shipping and other kinds of manufacturing things and dodge taxes and house things in certain places. And this, it feels very neoliberal in the sense that it is letting this wild free market kind of like run rampant all over all of these sort of social things that we already have, with a veneer of like, isn't this easier and nicer and like more inclusive?
What we're missing is whether a company does this, right?
Right, and when I'm
so
just reading
like
this, it's
blockchain is
just
not like proprietary.
Right, I think that's a good point too, because like when the internet was created, you know, it was funded by the government, and also the context in which Milton Friedman was working with the Chicago Boys, for instance, was in the 70s. And that even, I mean, it just changes a lot in the past like 3 decades or so, this idea of libertarianism, even like libertarianism in the 70s is something that in 1999. And so I'm just having like some trouble with that in terms of placing this as well.
Yeah, that's a good point about the kind of public roots of a lot of these technologies. That's another complicating factor. So yeah, this is a hard one to end on.
And I think it gets to the point, and probably like why you brought us here, Josh, and like the, you know, like this is what we're trying to talk about, right? Is the confluence of these two things and how they sort of like they've melded into like having quite similar aims. No?
Yeah, it's in that really tricky overlap. Should we cast our votes?
Yeah, if you kind of ignore the history behind it and all the kind of things that we're talking about now, I think maybe if you end on this idea that reducing the role of government and you can like buy illicit shit on the internet, that's pretty libertarian. So
yeah, I mean, it's just, I think it's libertarian because it's just describing the Silk Road.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with libertarian because it doesn't specify who the internet is serviced by, and everything that Mike and Sean also just said.
Yeah, I think I've got to agree with that. Libertarian as well. Yeah, we've got plenty more, but maybe we'll get together another time to go through the rest of them, and we'll let Montez to give us the outro. We did get into a really good riff on some of these docs. Who came up with this one?
I would use that.
It's yes.
That's called Twitter.
Okay.
But the question is, does everyone is the data automatically mined? I guess it depends on like how the process works and whether it's.
Do you opt in or not?
Also, I mean, think about that. That's really weird because you know, everybody remember when House of Cards came out and people were talking about how it was one of the first like, basically like algorithmically generated shows based on people doing.
Right. Totally.
So this is like, this would generate, like it would connect you with partners based on things. So you would change your reading habits in order to attract certain types of people. Just like you would read like Milan Kundera at the bar if you want to attract a certain type of person versus something else. So people would really radically alter that. Probably not, but people would really change their behavior and their reading patterns to be knowledgeable of this. Because as soon as you're being surveilled and it's feeding into something, you change your patterns to kind of game the outcomes.
The chat is saying neoliberal on this one.
I hope that would incentivize people to use the library again.
You just never go to the library.
This is amazing, like public.
It does. I mean, it feels neoliberal because it has it makes it sound like the library is good and that, but they're just exploiting an infrastructure that has like an amount of data on people that can and has been historically exploited to like target political dissidents and other things like that. So it's, like, it's actually super gnarly.
That they like aren't supposed to share what people are checking out.
Right. I think they're not, right?
Yeah.
And this would be, but this is, you could imagine like some Silicon Valley tech person talking about this, and how many like Dems would just be like dabbing to it and shit. Like, you know, like, I don't know, like talking about being on the campaign trail, and you know, our kids started hooking up because they were using it. I don't know, just, it's, God, I want to die.
Well, they just be like, the public library system is crumbling. This is the way that we can monetize it and like bring back interest in the public infrastructure and the public service that the library provides.
Right, like Canopy and Chill. They could try to, that could save it. I don't know, here in Austin we still have Canopy, so I get to watch my prestige films, which is lovely.
Very nice.
Libra bonds?
Yeah, this was a new one.
All right, we got 5 minutes.
Transferring student loan debt into a forgiveness program as Libra-based bonds. Libra is a confusing topic on its own. Student loan debt, forgiveness program. There's like a few things kind of baked in here, but I think my inclination is neoliberal, because I think the way that the value that Libra is tied to is like there's parts of it that are fiat currency. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, the main criticism of it that it's not really blockchain. It's sort of this like a one world currency.
Oh wait, what's that language that they wanted everybody to learn?
Sort of like a one world government, basically. It's like a Zuckerberg sovereignty. So that's pretty fucking neoliberal.
Yeah, it's extremely neoliberal because, yeah.
Esperanto? Is that language?
Facebook is the new Esperanto.
Transferring student loan debt into, well,
Well, I mean, libertarians are anti-debt, so.
Right.
But
And neoliberals love student loan.
They're not anti-student loan debt. they're actually, I would say libertarians are enthusiasts of taking out debt to better yourself, right, on the private market.
Right.
So they're really fans of sort of, you know, banks coming in to sort of, you know, fund private education. So they're very into student loan debt, but they would probably be less interested in Libra-based bonds. That seems like something Cory Booker would be down for. So.
Would a libertarian hate and like refuse to recognize my student loan debt because it is consolidated under the federal government? Like, would I be able to no longer recognize it by convincing the government to take it on?
It depends on what kind of loans you have, by the way.
Through consolidation.
You can consolidate them with a private broker.
I know, but I didn't. They're under the, I don't want to. They're under the federal government.
I understand. I guess I'm just speaking like more broadly. You're speaking about your loan specifically.
I'm asking for advice.
It's not a personal finance.
Yeah, personal finance hour.
I mean, I wrote this one and have no idea.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I remember coming up with a few of these, and I'm like, I'm not really sure what this actually means.
Great. Well, it looks like we're out of time. I'm kind of getting hungry.
Yeah. All right. I won't push us too far past it.
Big mistake.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on the stream, and thanks to Montez Press Radio for putting our audio up, streaming us in the space. Yeah. Okay. This was fun. Let's get together and do it again soon.
Awesome.
All right. I'll cut the stream now.
Organizing Josh. Bye,
Cool.
Kerry. Bye,
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. I don't know how to quit a Zoom call. I guess I just close the tab.